everybody. Clinton, your host of Oval Window Racing. And today, it's raining outside, so I thought I'd get back in the garage and get to doing something that I really like, and that's taking apart this jigsaw puzzle down here. Get some gloves on, get some tools around, and get busy. Alright, a couple of things you kind of need to do here before we get started pulling the case apart is disassemble the short block some more. What we got here is an oil pump. Well, there's no oil pump there, so we don't have an oil pump. But this is right where the oil pump would be, and it's something that you got to remove because the case splits here and here, and there's no way for the case to come apart when the oil pump is on the case. So we got to remove that. The pulley is off. Helps to have the pulley out because you got a couple nuts to get behind the pulley. And then normally on a stock engine, let's move the engine around here. Normally on a stock engine, there's a drain plate cover for the oil. As you can see, there's no drain plate cover here, but this engine is equipped with a 1.5 quart deep sump. And this will have to be removed before we can go any further. Looks like they did use some nylon lockers to hold it on. Usually that's what comes in the kit. In a future video, when I go to reassemble this engine, I'll show you a trick that I like to do. We'll replace these nuts and use a bolt to hold them down. Something that I like to do. I don't necessarily saying it needs to be done, but it's just I feel it's extra insurance. But that's for a later video. All right, we'll continue rolling this around, and I've already showed before that there is no flywheel. It's not necessary to remove the flywheel before splitting the case, but it helps to remove the flywheel from the crank while the case is still together. But I believe that's about it. We'll get to finding some tools and get to work with the fun stuff. Alright, like I said earlier, got to remove the oil sump here. And that's going to require a 10mm socket and a small socket wrench. Okay, I'm back. That's not going to work either. I'm back again. Sometimes these can be tricky. This looks like an older sump. Some of the newer sumps actually offset these studs here, and you got little openings, so it's easier to get your wrench in there. And these are actually going to be pretty decent. This is where it's nice to have little hands. What's horrible is like when you're assembling the engine, trying to put these nuts on here, and you drop them down in the engine. Then you got to go fishing. And not for the kind of fish we're hoping for. Alright, with those removed, you should be able to just wiggle those off. And can you say silicone? Now to go dump this in the parts washer. Alright, now on to the next step. We've got 13mm nuts to go all the way around the engine. Then these should be 19. Normally a factory engine has a 17mm bolt, but these aren't the factory nuts on there, so they're actually a little bigger. And one key thing to always look for are these two little nuts on the back here behind the cam. A lot of times people miss this one right here, and sometimes that one, because a lot of times there'll be a lot of oil and grease built up in this area, and it hides all this stuff. And the factory ones just use regular nuts that are steel. Sometimes they're rusty and they're really dark colored, so they're hard to see in the grease. But these are, shiny, so they're easier to see. But a lot of people will miss those and they'll wind up breaking the case trying to get it apart. And I see one's already missing. And then there's usually a bolt and a nut here, one down here, and one over here, but for some reason they're missing on this application too, and I'm going to have to dig through my nuts and bolts and see if I have those. If not, it's another trip to the hardware store. But let's get to removing some bolts and nuts here. Like you see, he's got the washers underneath the nuts. Actually, they're a wave washer, or I think they're called a spring washer. Kind of a lock washer. Not really need a lock washer with the nylon lockers, but it's nice to have it because it protects the case when you're tightening down the nut. And this one, the stud actually came out, not to worry. We'll wind up just taking the nut off there later and stick this back in the hole to the proper depth and Loctite it. Alright, I almost forgot the one I told you not to forget. Alright, time for the big nuts. Probably really doesn't matter which way to loosen them up, but I usually do them in a pattern. Just like when I go to torque them, I torque them in a certain pattern. One thing I'm going to check now that I got those loose is crank spins a lot easier. Yeah, I think one of those bearings pins are pinched in there. Even clicks back and forth. This is what it's supposed to sound like. Alright, now that that's done, time to get some more tools. Alright, here we are. Nuts are off. The trusty duty rubber hammer. And basically what I like to tap on are these little ears here. I know they kind of look crusty and stuff, but I've never had one come apart. That and usually a stud or something up here. It looks like someone has jabbed a screwdriver in there. You don't normally recommend, trying to wedge these cases apart with the screwdriver because you got a sealing surface all the way around there. But right here, there's like no oil gets up in here, and that's the case kind of with down here too. But hopefully, we won't have to do that. We'll start tapping. Looks like it's starting to wink at me. Probably one of the best things you can pick up are these little lifter clips. They don't really work too well on taking stuff apart because you usually wind up hammering them off the vibration hammers them off the lifters, but when you're reassembling the engine, they're wonderful. But just try to keep the lifters in order. And there we have it. Engine case is in half. Now to find the missing lifters. There they are. Alright, my previous video I talked about distributor drive shafts when installed. You can see here where looks like something was rubbing on there. It's possibly from the distributor drive shaft, damage from it. Doesn't look like it's too bad. It's probably still usable. We may just replace it anyways. Yeah, see there's not too much silicone. You gotta be careful over here putting the silicone in too excessively, because on the other case half you can actually see there's a drain hole here. And you can see how some of this sealant is in there. You block that drain hole, then oil won't escape. Same with up here. There's some another drain hole. You gotta be careful when you're adding the silicone. I usually add the silicone to this case half and then set it down on top of the other one, just so I know where those are at, because there's not a drain hole on this side. Alright, let's pick this crank up and see which dowel pin is pushing up against the bearing. And there it is right there. That's the bearing, it's pinched. Yeah, it looks like it was right there. They even actually kind of split the bearing there. Dowel pin's supposed to be in the hole there. It made its, looks like it made its own hole. That one's good. And this one looks good. Now the other thing we do with this line gauge is check to see what kind of shape the case is in. Kind of mark it here. And I see it scrapes really good here and really good there, but doesn't scrape in the center. So this is going to need a line bore. You can kind of tell that just by looking at the oil on the case halves here. These are actually supposed to squeeze together. This thing wouldn't have had any oil pressure. Yeah, don't even really touch the center. There it is. Alright, what I got here is something I picked up a while back. It's called emergency one. What it's used for is determining the line bore size in your case here, the bore size. Something I seen in magazines way back here advertising. It was great for like doing swap meets, like when you're trying to pick up used cases, you can kind of get an idea what the line bore is at. A lot of people are concerned of what size the line bore is at. Some people don't like the line bore more than 20 thousandths. Some are like, no, we should do more than 40 thousandths. I think this one reads up to 20 thousandths increments. It's like there's 20, 40, 60, and 80. See right on there. And I've actually never used this. You can see that it's still in the package. I actually just dug it out of the toolbox and forgot I had it. I probably had this thing for 15 years, so let's give it a shot and see how it works. Alright, let's open this thing up and give it a shot. Try her out. Yeah, looks like we're going to need a knife. Said I didn't originally build this engine to begin with, so I don't know where it's line bored at. You can see it's even got some oil grooves in there. But I guess basic idea of this thing is just to stick her in and see where we start, see if it's tight or not. That fits in there nicely. 40 thousandths does not go in there. Neither does the 60 or the 80. And since the 20 thousandths fits in there nicely, I'm going to say that this engine case has got lots of life left in it, as long as it's not warped. But we'll determine that in the future video. Alright, so the next step is to clean this stuff all up, get it up to the machine shop, get a line bore done on it, and we're going to actually do an upgrade on the oil system, put a full flow oil system in it. And that'll all be up in the next coming videos. So if you want to stay tuned and watch the process and the progress of this engine, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be updated. Till then, we'll see you guys later.